Hello, this is week 84 in Intuitive Momentum Fitness, and today we're talking about the benefits of strength training, the magic of strength training, and how it has been the most impactful, exponentially beneficial aspect of anything that I have done. And I think it's important to clarify, what do I mean by strength training? Because a lot of people have different ideas, and there's different ways that can look. And so I want to clarify what that is, what benefits it actually has, how it impacts the muscle and overall health, and why you don't need to be a bodybuilder to benefit from strength training. So for my story, I was always weak and small, and those were the two things that was the most frustrating for me, the most challenging, kind of the most in my face, all growing up. And I saw the difference between others and myself, particularly with my younger brothers. I'm the oldest of 6 children, and there are 4 boys within 5 years. The 5th boy is the youngest, so and a sister in between. But I had a hard time keeping up with my younger brothers growing up, and just energy wise. And then my next brother, he's a year younger, and got taller than me when I was 4, he was 3. And when he hit puberty, after I did, he grew a whole bunch, got a whole bunch of muscle automatically, just looked like a man automatically, and I was still skin and bone, face covered in pimples, really sick, really weak, really fatigued. And all the way till I was 22, I couldn't get heavier than 120 pounds. I got to 5'8", my full height, at 15. And so, like, there was just no energy, no strength. If I tried running, I got weaker and smaller faster. But even strength training wore me out, took me down. And I was just like so lost, so confused, trying to figure out, how do I make any improvements in my health? I had a weak immune system. I didn't just get the winter flu. I got all of them. Anytime anyone was sick, I got sick. And so, yeah, immune system was terrible. But as I started listening to my body, and after doing a ton of research in my early 20s, reading multiple different strength training, muscle building, bodybuilding books, and trying and failing all the different methods that they taught, I used my intuition, my knowledge of myself, to think, well, if I'm experiencing a lot more fatigue regularly than anyone else, I don't know yet why I'm experiencing the fatigue, but I am. Maybe I need to make the personal training program, the strength training routine, a little bit easier. And so this is where I spread out the full body over 14 days, just did one small muscle group at a time, whether it was just outer thigh or inner thigh or calf or bicep or tricep or delt shoulder. I like split the body, all the different movements, 14 different ways. So I just worked on one small movement every day. And that was my strength training. So, you know, for thighs, for quads, the front of my thigh, one of the exercises I know I did was put ankle weights on and just raise my leg at my knee over and over until my thigh burned. And then I do the other one. I let this one rest and I'd alternate back and forth. And I do like 4 to 6 sets each until it was like, I felt it, I got fatigued, it got tired. And that was my workout for the day. Nothing crazy at all, super easy, but that was my strength training. And the next day I'd probably do something upper body, probably like a tricep or something. So every day I was alternating between upper body and lower body, but just doing one little muscle group at a time because that was my experiment. I wanted to see if I had enough energy to recover from just one muscle group versus a whole bunch of muscle groups or the whole body. And that started working. So every 2 weeks when I came back to each of those muscle groups every day, I was noticing that I could do a little bit more, whether that was repetitions or weight, if I was using weight, or sets. I could do more than I could 2 weeks before when I worked that same muscle group. And that was the first time in my life, in my early 20s, that I ever experienced getting stronger. So overall, over the years, I've noticed that having more muscle on my frame not only has raised metabolism, not only has made me just stronger, but it's given me more energy, and I get sick less often, hardly ever. And it has allowed me to do many of the other things that I wanted to do, including cardio, which I could never do early on because I had just no endurance, no lung capacity, no heart rate capacity. And so I really feel like more than any of the other 12 simple habits that I incorporated, strength training has paid off so many times. It is the exponential gift that keeps on giving in my life, because if I hadn't been doing strength training, so many of those other benefits wouldn't happen. You know, drinking water is important. Getting quality sleep is important. And, you know, none of those things are not important. You know, eating real foods is important. Gentle movement and stretching is important. Self-soothing is important. And all those things are vital, vital, vital. But strength training, if I hadn't been doing strength training, my immune system would not be as strong as it is. I would not have been able to play the sports that I ended up being able to play, including soccer, which is mostly running, and pickleball and volleyball and all those things. But like having muscle mass and bone density gave me the capacity to perform endurance exercises in sports. And I had never been able to do that before. So let's go through the actual tangible aspects of the value of muscle and bone and increasing the density of muscle and bone. So strength training is just a means of increasing or maintaining bone and muscle density. My brain is going a million different directions because there's so many ways I can, lay this out. But it really is the foundation of health. So one thing I think it's super valuable to say right off the bat is that most of the symptoms of aging are actually symptoms of frailty. So when you lose muscle mass and strength, you're going to lose balance, because strength gives you balance. And a lot of people talk about, like, they don't want to bulk up, they just want to work on their balance or something, but it's the same thing. Like and you're not really going to bulk up, like you're not going to accidentally become Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know why people are afraid of that, why people talk about that so often. Like they're wanting to avoid bulking, like it's accidentally going to happen. It takes a ton of work and lots of food and intense focus and intention to add any amount of muscle density, bone density. It doesn't happen by accident. So, and while I'm on a tangent, most women are lifting with 3 pounds, 5 pounds, 8 pound weights when their child weighs 40 pounds or 60 pounds and they're carrying them around, or they carry all the groceries in one load, and that's got to be like 40 to 60 pounds. So why hold on to the baby weights? Like you are stronger than that. So so the muscle skeletal muscle is an organ, and it's only recently being recognized as that by experts and by science. But it is the largest largest organ in the body when you recognize it as an organ. Otherwise, the skin is the largest organ in the body. But skeletal muscle is the largest. It takes up 40% of the body's mass. And so when muscle is healthy, there's more of it there. It's solid. And when you strength train, when you get stronger, your muscle gets denser first, so it becomes more firm. If you can squeeze your arm and you go right to the bone, that's frailty. If you squeeze the arm and you feel solid muscle, that's density. So muscle, the organ of muscle is the organ of longevity, because the more muscle you have, or the less frail you are, the younger you are, the more vital you are. The less muscle you have, the more frail you are, the older you are in body age. So if you're not intentionally keeping your muscle mass, you are accelerating your aging experience. Most women get osteoporosis around age 60, so that's why they start testing for osteoporosis around then. And it's not because that is normal for age 60. It's normal if you've spent all those years not lifting heavy things regularly. If you have been lifting heavy things regularly throughout all those years, you're going to have really dense bones, because bone density is related to muscle density. We know that muscle is attached to bone, and anytime you use your muscle, it's tugging on the bone that it's attached to. And that tension, that resistance on the bone signals the bone to get stronger at the same time as the muscle is getting the signal to get stronger. So muscle, every cell in the body is made of amino acids. So there are 20 amino acids that make up protein. Those 20 amino acids make up every cell in your body. And 9 of those are essential, not meaning that they're important, but meaning that the body cannot make them out of other things. So you have to be eating protein that contains high amounts of those essential amino acids in order for your body to get the amount of amino acids that it needs to make all the new cells that it's constantly making. And if you're not getting enough protein and you're not getting enough of those amino acids in your system, then your body has to have those to make new cells. And because the bone and the muscle and the tendons and ligaments are the least important as far as like staying alive right this minute of all the tissues in your body, then your body will sacrifice lean tissue, cannibalize your muscle and tendon and ligament and bone to make new cells, to keep you alive, to keep your heart pumping, to keep your blood manufactured, to keep your brain cells going. So it will sacrifice lean tissue, not because it's not important, but because it is a storehouse of protein which your body needs for every cell. It's similar to the way your savings account is your least important financial account. So you're going to use that if you have an emergency where you're trying not to touch it otherwise. But that's what you go to when everything else is going crazy and you've got an emergency and you've got to pay something. You use your savings account. But is it better to have a massive savings account? Obviously. So as far as your body's health goes, having intact, dense muscle is so vital for your health. So it's the amino acid and nutrient storehouse of the body. So studies that have been coming out through the COVID pandemic have been confirming this as well. So those who are frail, and I forget the exact measurements, but they were 74% more likely to end up hospitalized when experiencing COVID than those who were not frail. So this doesn't mean that you're not overweight. It could mean that. It just means that you don't have a lot of muscle. So regardless of whether, someone would consider themselves big or thin or whatever, like both could have frailty. And so if you're frail, you're 74% more likely to end up hospitalized with COVID than if you're not frail with COVID. So we already talked about muscle density. Muscle strength dictates bone density. So if you want strong bones, you need strong muscles. The muscle and bone density is important for both injury prevention and injury and illness recovery. So having strength gives you balance, so you're less likely to hurt yourself. You're more likely to be coordinated if you're using your body more in strength training. Your reflexes are trained for different movements. And if you do hurt yourself, you're going to recover faster because of that deep, dense storage of nutrients and amino acids that your muscle is made of. And it's able to recover quickly from illness or injury. And then muscle density is the biggest influence you can have on your metabolism. Most often the reason that someone's metabolism has dropped over the years is because they don't have a lot of muscle mass. Those that have denser muscle, whether they're resting or moving, every part of that, they're burning more calories than those who have less muscle. Even if those who have less muscle are running all the time or being really active, the one who has muscle is going to be burning more calories all the time, whether they're resting or active, because they've got more muscle, which the muscle tissue is more metabolically active. There's more metabolic activity within the muscle than any other tissue in the body. The body is efficient. So the reason it's important to strength training, the reason it's important to use your muscle, use your strength, and to lift heavy things, move heavy things, including your own body, is that the body is efficient and that it won't maintain what it doesn't use. So using your body is so important. Just like if a car sits for a long period of time, hey Nadi, good to see you. If your car sits for a long time, it's not going to run well. So frequent use is important to keep everything fresh and moving and flowing, lubricated. And same thing with our bodies. They were made to move, made to strain and struggle to resist gravity mainly, but resist other things. Strength training is also called resistance training because if you lift a weight, it's not actually the weight that's making you stronger, it's gravity against that weight that's making you stronger or challenging your muscles, signaling to your body to get stronger. But you can use the same thing with resistance bands or a cable machine, or your own body becomes the gravity pull, like when you're doing pull-ups and things like that. So the body is efficient and it won't keep what it doesn't think it needs, and it doesn't think it needs what it doesn't use. So use your strength. That will signal to your body to maintain and increase the strength. So in my experience of strength training, and I know there's a lot of confusion because there's like so many different programs out now. I know like there's P90X, and they have a lot of different programs that are meant to focus on strength, but so many of those programs and so many fitness instructors that have like strength classes and things like that, all those are trying to turn strength into cardio. And that's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about strength training. So I'm not talking about going from one activity to another activity and, having a strength set and then doing some jumping jacks, then doing another strength set and all this stuff. Like if you are empathic and you have experienced trauma and your system is hypervigilant and you get nervous system activation regularly, like you get triggered into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn regularly, you're draining your energy all throughout the day just because of all those awarenesses. So being really extremely active with your workouts doesn't make sense. And so if that's what you're thinking of when you think of strength training, when I talk about strength training, that's not what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about strength training, I'm talking about slow, steady, meditative movement to muscle fatigue. And that can just be as simple as squats, push-ups, and a row. So body weight squat, you could hold something if you want to. You could grab a child. You could grab a gallon of milk or whatever, but you don't need any of that. If you just stand and do some body weight squats until your thighs start quivering, that is strength training. And that's perfect for lower body. If you do some slow push-ups against the kitchen counter until your chest and your triceps start quivering, that's strength training. Do a few sets of that once a week. On a different day, do the squats once a week. And then the row, if you've got a resistance band that has handles and you got a loop and you can pin it in the door, or you've got a couple of heavier dumbbells and you can bend over and row away from the ground, that's strength training. Do a couple of sets to fatigue till you feel the quivering in your back and your biceps in the row movement. So those 3 exercises are the 3 most important movements to do regularly for your body. And you only need to do each one once a week. Do 4 to 6 sets if you can. You can take 3 minutes in between sets so that you fully recover. It doesn't need to be crazy. It doesn't need to be super intense. You can just be very gentle, meditative, slow and steady with it. And so the goal is not to burn calories during the workout. The goal is to burn calories after the workout. You're repairing muscle after your workout. Your metabolism is going to be up while you're doing that whole process. You're recovering, building up your tissue. And the next week, you're going to come back and you're going to be able to do it better. The first 4 to 6 weeks are mostly neural changes. You're not actually physically getting stronger. You're getting your muscle motor units are getting more organized. And so the neural aspect of the adaptation is getting more coordinated. And then after that, once you keep going after 6 weeks, then there's physical adaptation. And you start noticing that your legs are a little more firm, your arms a little more firm, your back looks stronger in the mirror. So those things you'll start noticing after 6 weeks. Muscle and strength are the foundation of your health, of your mobility. It gives you the freedom to participate in life the way you want to. If someone says, hey, I want to go do this hike, it's 6 miles, you're like, oh, awesome, I'll go do that. Maybe 2,000 feet elevation gain, okay, sweet, got it. You want to go play pickleball or sand volleyball for a couple hours, you can do that. You got children that are tired and don't want to walk anymore and you got to carry them, you can do that. So everything is easier when you get stronger. It's like a ticket to your most enjoyable life because you get to participate in all the ways that you want to. And it doesn't, you don't have to, like, if you're worried about, looking even like me, you're probably not going to, because I've been working at it for almost 20 years and very, very focused on trying to get stronger. And that's not driving you. So you're not going to have that happen. And most of you are women. And women tend to just not have the emotional or the hormonal structure to build large muscle. If you want that, you can work extra hard for it, but yeah, just firm, lean muscle is what you're going to get from strength training. So I find that men who lift look more manly. Women who lift look more feminine, and still have all the curves that they were hoping for. So so if you're more of a runner and you already enjoy running, that's great. Don't stop running. But strength training is going to benefit your running by giving a little bit more muscle density so that you can last longer when you run. It's going to be better for your joints. You're going to have better bone density. It's going to give you a little more speed to have more muscle. If you're a swimmer, it's going to benefit you for that. Biker, same thing. Older, active athletes. So people that stay active into old age have way better health than those who are inactive. But then those who strength train into old age have even better health than those who are simply active into old age, because of the nutrient density of the muscle and bone that they have more of. So aging takes longer for those who stay strong and maintain their strength. And maybe you're an artist or a scholar and you have no interest in hiking or carrying children or grandchildren or keeping up with the family at Disneyland or whatever. Like, even if none of those things inspire you and all you want to do is just draw or paint or write or read, your physical health will still benefit from doing some squats, doing some push-ups against the counter, doing some rows with a resistance band, and your vitality, your functionality, even your brain function will last longer and hold up better, even if you did nothing else but those, squats, push-ups, and rows, and then the rest of the time you were just an artist or just a scholar, and you didn't do any activity beyond that. You would be well served just maintaining and increasing your strength in that. So I want to jump on to Facebook here and make sure I didn't miss anything. But let's take a look here. So yeah, if you have any questions, would love to see those. Let me see. Okay, so Tom says, agreed, Kyler. More and more, this has been my experience as well. So yeah, that's cool. If you have experienced the benefits of strength training, I hope that you will share that in the group. I have enjoyed so much being able, just physically able to move my body in multiple different ways. Like I survived Marine boot camp because I had been focusing on strength training a little bit before that. And I shared that picture of me squatting with a watermelon just to kind of emphasize the fact that like you don't need a lot of equipment, you don't need anything fancy to strength train. It doesn't need to be a super intense workout. I mean, the simplest version of things that I've done over the years is what I called hundreds. And so one day I would, if I was really busy with work and school and all that stuff, I would just do sets of 10 to 20 squats throughout the day until I got to 100 by bedtime. And that's actually so easy if I can remember to do it. And so sometimes I'd set an alarm for every, couple of hours just to like, oh yeah, I need to do more squats. And so I would just make sure I got 100 by bedtime. And then the next day I'd do push-ups, whether that was on the floor or against the counter. And then sometimes it was pull-ups, sometimes it was rows with a band, but I try to get 100 of those. And so alternate throughout the day. And so it didn't take up any time, really. Just like a minute to see how many I could get. And then back to work, back to whatever I was doing. And but I was like maintaining and improving my muscle density. And it takes a lot of consistency, but consistency is the most important thing. So if you can be consistent, it'll change your life. And so one of the keys to being consistent is simplicity. So don't make strength training a complex, overwhelming, super impressive, but intimidating thing. Keep it super simple, keep it fun, just do it in a way that you can sustain it over time. And Adam, I'm thinking of you as you've explained some of the health challenges and recovery challenges that you've had, and so like even if you end up with 10 repetitions by the end of the day instead of 100, sending that little signal to your body, hey, we're prioritizing muscle, we're valuing muscle. This is important to the system. That makes a difference in the body. So this is obviously something I'm really passionate about. I feel like it gave me my life back because I had only fatigue and weakness and illness, poor health, the first almost 2.5 decades of my life. And I didn't experience a normal amount of energy until I was 27 and a half, but I had already been able to start playing soccer and some things like that. So I had experienced some improvements, but surviving 3 months of Marine boot camp, being able to play soccer for the first time in my life in my late 20s, learning how to play volleyball, learning pickleball in my 30s, and just continuing to get healthier and stronger and work on movements and flexibility, which comes with strength. If you do it right, if you exercise through full range of motion, you're going to maintain and improve your flexibility for active purposes. So I feel like it's given me my life and I'm so passionate about it. if there's a way that you can make it a part of your weekly routine without throwing anything off or making it more stressful than it needs to be, if it could just be a simple addition to your routine, it can be powerfully life-changing. And I wish that for each of you. So let me know if you have any questions. If anything comes up as a result of this conversation, I'd love to hear it. Hope you guys are doing well. Love you, and talk to you soon.